Welcome to episode 28 of Crosstown Cardboard with my great friend Craig at New York City Sports Cards, the math teacher and soccer coach in New York City, but from on Long Island, and myself at Carmine's Cards, just Carmine for short in real life. I am a sports and news broadcaster living in Southern Oregon, but originally from Ossining, New York in Westchester County. And Craig, our topic for episode 28 is standing the test of time. Which cards or which factors that those cards contain do we think will stand the test of time? And which cards or type of cards do we think won't stand the test of time as far as holding their value or being collectible down the road? Because you always talk about what do we want our collections to look like 5 or 10 years from now? And you want to build your PC around those for investment reasons and collectible reasons at the same time. But first, we have to announce our New York Knicks won game one of the series over the weekend against the Cleveland Cavaliers. We held on. Thank you, Jalen Brunson. Julius Randle also played well, and Josh Hart. So this is kind of a weird one. We're recording on Monday, so by the time we put this out, game two will have already happened. So we can only hope that we're up 2-0 by then. If we're 1-1 going back to the Garden, not the worst thing in the world. But Craig, before we dive into our topics, standing the test of time, dive a little bit more into our Knicks fandom, I want to ask, how are you doing and how was your Caribbean hobby detox that we talked about last episode?
I'm feeling great. Thank you for asking. And you are 28 years old, is that correct?
That's correct.
So this is your golden episode. So
I didn't
that's
even
very,
think.
so that's very exciting.
Let's go. I didn't even think of that.
But vacation was amazing. I feel very physically and mentally rejuvenated, which is exactly what I needed. I did a very good job the first 4 or 5 days of vacation of not looking at cards, not scrolling, not really engaging on Instagram. I did listen to some content. Um, you know, couldn't get enough of my hobby podcasts, especially waking up in the morning or maybe at night once my wife fell asleep. But overall, the detox was good. And you know what? I kind of liken it to, I hear if you're trying to kick like a sugar habit, for example, where if you have a craving and you don't
Yeah.
eat sugar for, I don't know, 7 days, you start to lose that craving. I kind of feel that way. And I mean that in the best way possible, where after a week of not scrolling on eBay, PWCC, Instagram for cards, I don't really have that itch to do so as frequently anymore,
Wow.
which is a good feeling because I'm getting my fix with hobby content, talking to people on Instagram, but it's not so all consuming after that break. So that feels good. I definitely have a clear head and I am ready to continue to navigate in this hobby and talk to you on the airwaves.
Let's go. So before we go any further, because we've been neglecting our self-promotion, Craig, we want to ask everybody who's listening and watching on YouTube or listening on any podcast platform to like, subscribe, hit the bell notification, leave a comment or a rate and review if you think we're doing a decent job, or if you have some constructive criticism, we're always open to that too. Some topic ideas, just so we can keep trying to pump the hobby positivity and reach as many people and get everybody on our journey here with us and, just enjoying Crosstown Cardboard. So, Craig, what were a few of the, I know you sent me a list of ideas, which was very good and nice as far as like when you were relaxing on your Caribbean beach, thinking a little bit partially about the hobby future. And so what were some of the things, did you gain any clarity other than not as much itch to get the scrolling and looking at cards?
Yeah, I would say at one point on the trip, I love writing stuff down. I'm a like my agenda book. I don't use a iCal or the calendar on my iPhone. I like to write stuff down old school. So I'm the same way in a notebook. I was just jotting down my thoughts while I was on the beach. I have a bunch of new podcast topic ideas, and then myself, my own hobby journey. I divide into four categories: collecting and investing, which the main point there was what cards will I want in 10 years? And I wrote down what kind of cards I'm looking for, which is Knicks, Giannis, Curry, Kobe, Holland, Messi, Pele, Mbappe, Jackie Robinson, game use patches, U.S. men's national team. I wrote down two Grail cards of mine, a Sandy Koufax rookie card, and a Justin Bieber autograph.
Oh, okay.
And a good thought here was a proper balance between my card portfolio, money to survive, and money invested into other markets.
Love
And
it.
then the other categories, I won't get too much into detail, but flipping and business. Can I maintain these small profits that I'm making? Networking, relationships. Continue to go to trade nights, card shows, just DMing people through Instagram. Possibly opportunities to set up at more shows because for me, that's so much fun. And then podcasts and content consuming. Are we staying true to our mission statement, which going back to our old notes from months ago, we are. And I'm really proud of that. And consistency, right? Meeting up once a week, putting out this content, talking, keeping the hobby juices flowing. And I think putting that all down on paper just makes me kind of feel good where I'm at and continuing in our hobby journey. And I feel really confident. Like I said, I got a clear headspace. Yeah, I think that just about covers it.
Yeah, that's great stuff, bro. That was enough nuggets for an entire episode right there. That was something I'll probably once I end this recording with us here, I'll probably go back and learn from that, jot it down because that was really good stuff to think about. And that goes well into our topic. You know, you mentioned again, what do I want my collection to look like in 10 years? How can we start this as far as the factors that we look for, which some will be obvious, you know, some you've likely probably heard before, as far as factors or players in these cards that we think will stand the test of time? Where do you start when you try to evaluate that?
A lot of directions that we can go with this.
Yeah.
And one other note that I forgot to mention was about us creating episodes that will remain relevant. So
Hmm.
if you listen to this episode a year from now, 2 years from now, it almost doesn't even have to be sequential, but it will still be relevant to some degree. Um, and this fits right into that. So what cards or sets or brands, however we want to take this, will stand the test of time?
Hmm.
So what brought this idea to mind for me? There are products that have remained consistent throughout the years, right? And then there's some one-off products. Like last year, Panini made a basketball product called Panini, I think it was Photogenic, and it was just basketball cards with cool photography. And I'm thinking to myself, is there any card from that set, that one-off year, that people are going to care about 5, 10 years from now? Um, Even something like Illusions football.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm hating on illusions. Maybe people like illusions. This is just my take, but are people going crazy over illusions autographs or RPAs?
No.
Right. So that's what I'm thinking. 10 years from now, is anyone really going to care about a Joe Burrow rookie autograph from illusions? Probably not. Could be wrong there. So then the question is, what cards will stand the test of time? Here is a simple example that I think gets the point across. One set that I think will stand the test of time as long as cards are still around: NFL contenders rookie autographs.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah.
date
That's
those date all
iconic.
the way back to 1998 when Randy Moss had his rookie autographs. Tom Brady has contenders rookie autographs. Contenders has been around ever since then, and I have no reason to believe that it won't continue to thrive. Right? Contenders started in the pre-Panini era. It's still around today in the Panini era.
Yep.
When Fanatics fully takes over, we don't know what's going to happen with Panini, but you could only assume Contenders rookie autographs are still going to be big in the football space. And I don't even do football cards. And even I know that. So when you
Yeah.
think about when you're picking up a card, what card do you think will remain relevant over time? I don't think you could really go wrong with a Contenders on card rookie auto.
Like Dak Prescott. Remember that one? And that seems like a big factor, you know, whenever we talk, especially because you started collecting as a kid and never stopped. Your respect for the longevity of a product, you know, like you said, bridging the gap from pre-Panini through Panini, it's brand recognition.
Yep. Yeah, that's a really good point. And the product has changed a little over the years. Like it used to be playoff and like it wasn't always Panini Contenders. Now it is, but that name Contenders really holds a lot of weight. And when you think of a card that might be a good investment for the right player, like Mahomes, you're not going to go wrong with a Mahomes Contenders on card autograph. But these one-off brands like like Phoenix or XR, will people care as much about those over the years? In my opinion, probably not.
Yeah, that's a good point. So that kind of touches on a few of the obvious factors that most collectors know, but if you don't, we'll definitely list them real quick as far as cards that will be more likely to stand the test of time. Of course, there's hobby fluctuations, just like the stock market, the economy. We've seen the major effects that the economy and the boom, and I don't know if you want to call it a bust in the hobby, but depending on what card you have, it was a bust. If you're looking at a LaMelo Ball Prism Rookie PSA 10 pop count of 3,000, those were around $1,000 at one point,
Wow.
in early to mid 2021, and now you can get a LaMelo Ball PSA 10 rookie Prism for about $40 or $50. So I would constitute that as a boom or bust. So let's get some of these obvious factors of what we think will help a card stand the test of time out of the way immediately. If it's less produced, there are less of them, the rarity, the scarcity. If it's unique, there aren't that many of them out there, or it's a unique set. Of course, the player quality of the player is going to be a major factor. If they get hurt, if they have a great career, if they start off hot, game used, like you said, especially in the era of player worn and not affiliated material, anything game used is holding a massive premium. If it's an on card auto versus a sticker auto. And, I think our boy John from Behind the Diamond, this is one of the, now we're getting more into the personal side of my thoughts after getting the obvious factors out of the way. On card Hall of Fame autos of, a Hall of Fame player or somebody who's established. Me and I know Craig, you set up at John's shows and you're good buddies with him being on Long Island and in the New York City area. He loves on-card autos and he does this full time. Has like a dozen tables at every show and almost everything is on-card Hall of Fame player autos because and I thought the same thing, but he always tells me this is the steady grower. Steady grower. You don't have to worry about Larry Bird's career changing, Magic Johnson, Dennis Rodman, Peyton Manning, John Stockton, all these great players, they're solidified, so those are cards that I think if they're all-time greats will stand the test of time. Now, on the flip side though, if you get somebody who's a borderline Hall of Famer, and I don't want to cause too much controversy, but Eli Manning, the further that they go from their playing days, if they're not an all-time great, you might get the opposite because they kind of fade into the the lexicon of sports and they don't stick out as much because they're not playing anymore. So a card like those might not quite stand the test of time as far as a bona fide, top 10, top 20 player of all time in their sport. So I don't know. That might upset some of our New York
Rob,
New York
the
City. I'm
sports,
sorry, Rob.
yeah, sports card
Sports
therapist,
card
Eli
therapist.
Manning fan. He's gonna have some words for you, and I
I'm
respect
not saying which way it should go. I'm just saying he might be on the fence. You know what I
people are
mean?
saying.
Sources indicate that could be a controversy.
Now, I think we should also specify that when we're talking about cards that will stand the test of time, I think it goes without say we're really talking about modern, not vintage. Vintage cards of Hall of Famers, those are good long-term holds, long-term assets. We're really talking about, let's call it the shiny era.
Okay.
Fair?
Yeah, sure.
And I think what sparked this for me is Luka Doncic, despite the season and that the Mavericks just had, is a player that I like as an investment. He's an unbelievable talent, but I asked myself, what cards of Luka would I want?
Right.
There's so many out there. There's so many new modern sets. How do you figure out which Luka cards would be good long term? So I looked into his Prism card, and I'm gonna rattle off to you the different numbered parallels
Oh,
you
geez.
can get of Luka from 1819 Prism.
Okay.
Um, red out of 299, blue out of 199, purple ice out of 149, blue ice out of 99, purple out of 75, orange out of 49, pink pulsar out of 42, purple pulsar out of 35, green pulsar out of 25, mojo out of 25, gold out of 10, black gold out of 5, black 101, blue shimmer out of 7, light blue shimmer out of 7, red
Whoa.
shimmer out of 7. Fast break, blue out of 175, red out of 125, purple out of 75, pink out of 50, bronze out of 20, neon green out of 5, red out of 88, green out of 8, nebula 1 of 1. That is
And
insane.
and those are just the numbered ones. I mean, there are
Exactly.
others that aren't numbered.
So then, which of these will stand the test of time?
I don't know. I don't know if you're doing a teacher. Are you doing the teacher thing on me and you're going to answer your own question, or you want me to weigh in?
It is a little rhetorical, and I think an obvious one is a color match. But
Yeah.
of all those random parallels, who's really gonna want many years from now, if you want a Luca rookie, who's gonna say, "Oh, I need that purple ice out of 149."
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, my first instinct was going to be color match. So I was going to
Sure.
say what you said. And then after that, I think the out of 99, because that's just a classic. Like, if you look at the National Treasures True RPA out of 99. So that's kind of an iconic numbering that I would say,
Sure.
like, out of 99. Okay. Like for me, I don't, out of 149 doesn't attract me. Out of 199, out of 75. So I would say like out of 99 would attract me. And then anything after out of 25 is to me where it becomes more rare. But you're right. I mean, that's one of the reasons why these cards have taken such a huge dive, at least, with the base and the silver, because people have realized, well, I can get that whenever I want. There's a million on eBay. Why would I invest in something like this when the trajectory after going way up had just been steadily going down, 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 down? Because people are just trying to buy it cheaper and cheaper. If
Yeah.
it's readily available, you're going to get people who are trying to get it 90% comps. And then what's the next comp? 90% comps, 90%. And then it just slowly keeps going down and down because there's no, the supply is way higher than the demand. And that is not good economics to keep the price afloat.
Yeah, that's exponential decay. Eventually, will go to zero. But I mean, that's the fun thing about the hobby. Right? It is a matter of preference. Maybe you just like the way purple or orange looks on cards. But on the topic of colored parallels, because that is what we see a lot in today's modern cards. An obvious one for me, a card that, as long as we are in this hobby, will always catch your eye, will always have demand, is the 1 of 1 Topps Chrome Superfractor.
Nice.
An easy answer would have just said 1 of 1, but I think 1 of 1 has lost its luster a little bit.
Yes. It's like one of 1,000 now.
Right. So, but the Superfractor, um,
Yep.
it hits different, and I think the fact that Superfractor is attached to the Topps Chrome brand, which Topps Chrome's been around since '96. I think that's accurate. And you got to, I would think Topps Chrome's going to come back once Fanatics gets their licenses. So Superfractors, I would think, are here to stay. So I think that's an obvious choice. I'm going to throw my hat in the ring for a Panini parallel that I think will stand the test of time, and that is the tie-dye parallel.
I love the tie dye out of 25.
Out of 25, the first year there was select soccer. The tie dye was out of 30, but 25, 30 semantics. It's very low numbered, and I just think it looks great.
Yes. And the good thing is it's somewhat of a color match for everyone
Sure.
because, whatever color is in the tie dye, usually your guy is wearing one of those colors. So it kind of brings all the colors to pop no matter what team your guy's on.
Yeah, so there's so many colored numbered parallels nowadays. So which ones will stand the test of time? I think the obvious ones are the Superfractor 101s. I guess if you want to go gold vinyl with Panini, but I mean, who knows how much longer gold vinyl will be around for? We don't know what Fanatics is going to do. Um, Color matches, I think we agree on. And then my own personal preference, I think tie dye parallels in the long run are good holds, good investments, let's just say.
I'm right there with you on the tie dye. And I think going off the Panini, because like you said, with vintage, that's going to be more likely to stand the test of time just because of, if you look at Dr. J, he got one rookie card compared to
Yeah.
nowadays, where you have thousands probably of each guy, or at least hundreds. And so we kind of, vintage is kind of understood that that's going to be either a steady grower or about the same. But another one, Craig, that I was thinking about, and it's something that, is decently well known, but the first year of Panini, 2012, 2013, of a lot of the products, because in a way it was a hobby reset when Panini took over. And I'm showing this flawless Steve Nash Ruby that I showed on the last podcast, numbered out of 15 auto of the first year of Panini. And I think, a lot of people think of it as a hobby reset in the fact that because it's a first year of a product, it's almost like a new rookie card in a way, because it's the rookie year, not of that player, but of that product. So if you look at, like, I know you're not a big fan of Kabooms, not only the Kaboom insert, but the first year of the Kaboom insert. A lot of those have, I'm a big fan because it was even more cartoon looking as far as the artwork back then. So the first year of Kaboom itself, a few years into Panini, anything first year, like, as far as the Panini products, I think will hold, at least hold the test of time better than, let's say 2018, 19, or those type of products. Not only because it was the first year of Panini taking over that license, but also because they didn't mass produce the product back then as much as they do now. Like if you look at Damian Lillard, his Prism rookie in a PSA 10, there's about just over 1,000 copies of that card. And if you look at the LaMelo Ball, like I referenced earlier, there's 3 times as many in the PSA 10 as Lillard. So there's about 3,000 LaMelos compared to 1,000 Lillards, which was the first year of the Panini license. And so it's interesting too, because that was a great rookie class. If you go back and look, the 2012-13, you have Klay Thompson, Damian Lillard, Anthony Davis, Draymond Green, Bradley Beal. We'll mention Harrison Barnes because he's a champ, Andre Drummond, Chris Middleton, and Knicks legend Kyle O'Quinn with the great beard. heading up the caboose, we had to include him. So I think
two draft classes that year because that was the year of the NBA strike. So 2011, 2012, there were very, very, very few products. So they put all those rookies into the next year.
There you go. Good
And
piece of knowledge too.
2013, 14 Panini Innovation.
Yes, it was
the
innovation.
first year of Kabooms.
Yes, and I had the Chris Paul and Blake Griffin first year Kabooms recently. I've also had the Carmelo, which was cool too. But yeah, so that's another factor I think is the first year of either a product or the first year of Panini taking over the license. I think those will hold the test of time a little bit better because it's almost like a pseudo-ish rookie card with it being that first year.
I like that. It's a great take. And so you got Panini Flawless, you got Panini Prism.
Yep.
Select was also that year, I believe that. Yeah. So it's interesting to see what these popular Panini brands that we know will they continue once Panini loses their licenses? Will Fanatics continue to produce them? I don't know, but Prism, right? This has been such a strong decade for Prism. I think it's safe to say that Prism Golds, especially, will stand the test of time. And I know we talk about game use a lot. I don't even want to touch upon this too much, but these expensive patch cards that don't have an association,
yeah,
I just don't see those lasting long term because here I am with this nice Joe Burrow. I don't know why I keep saying Joe Burrow. I think when I think modern football, he's who comes to mind. You got this nice Joe Burrow patch card, and it's just not associated with anything. It's like, well, what is it then?
Yeah.
This is just a novelty. So I don't think those will stand the test of time. I do have an obscure one.
Okay.
And I'm going to reference a few of my favorite products. 2005 Upper Deck Reflections Baseball.
Okay.
And I think it was actually the same year, 0506 SP Game Used Basketball. Both of them had these amazing dual patch autograph sets. Little patch windows, but if you got the right card, like my Knicks duel, which
Ah,
you could
great card.
see a little bit right here. Small windows, but nice chunky patches, autographs, although sticker, I'll let it slide, game worn, and the card right behind you, although it's not a patch, it's a dual autograph jersey. I think dual autograph jerseys or patches, game worn with the right pairings, will
Mhm.
always have a place in this hobby. Will always catch your attention. You'll see that as show big. Wow, it's different. I don't see that too much because they don't really make those too much today. So I
Yeah.
think those will stand the test of time because look at that one behind you.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a basketball fan, what an obscure random pairing, but autograph and game worn on the same card. I think cards like that will stand the test of time.
Yeah, and you're talking about the Kevin Garnett, Dennis Rodman dual on-card auto ultimate collection with the game used jerseys. And yeah, you're right, obscure pairing, and I'm pretty sure that's the only one in my research that I've found where they both have autographed the same card. Just two zany, crazy hustler power forwards with as much attitude as they had game. And I think that's a good point too. Here's another one I'll hit you with, which is I think kind of a hobby consensus, but I was just thinking of what factors can we focus on for guys to stand the test of time and their cards. Here's one that I was thinking about: the card having the player on the team they're associated with. For example, if you have a Shaq autograph, you're going to want him on the Lakers or the Magic for a little retro action. Heat in third. But if you get him on the Celtics, the Suns, the Cavs, I mean, it's still Shaq, but it's not the big Aristotle.
It's really funny you say that, and I agree with your point. I was on Facebook yesterday, and someone was buying cards, and like, hey, buying posts. I'm looking for so and so. Show me what you got. And
Yeah.
somebody showed a card of it was a Kevin Durant autograph on the Nets, and the guy literally commented, "Kevin Durant on the Nets, LOL, hard pass."
Ouch.
But like, I get it. Just
Yeah.
like what's collectible about a Shaq card on the Suns, I don't know if there's much collectible about a Kevin Durant. Sorry. Did I say Garnett?
Yeah.
I meant Durant this whole time. But Garnett also kind of plays
No, Garnett, I mean, you would want him
on the
much
Celtics,
more on either the Celtics
Timberwolves.
or the T-Wolves,
Yeah.
less on the Nets,
Yeah, I
and
actually meant that. Maybe that was a Freudian slip. I actually meant Durant, but both kind of play, right? As
both
far
on
as
the Nets, both forgettable
collectability,
Nets careers.
right? Collectability, long term, 20 years from now, who's going to want a Kevin Garnett card up from the Nets?
Yeah, I mean, and you could say the same thing. Obviously, you see a massive difference with Jordan, on the Bulls versus the Wizards, or somebody like Dwayne Wade, you know, and this might play as far as the products that we're talking about also.
Ooh.
Here, I'll take it out of the case. But you want Wade, of course, on the Heat. You don't want him on the Cavs or the Bulls. And you see those in the price reflections now. So imagine down the road, how much different those prices are going to be. So and I got this at the Burbank card show. So if you haven't checked out that vlog, definitely give that a watch. It was a fun one. But this is a PSA 10 2003 Ultimate Collection Dwayne Wade rookie on card auto from one of the nicest products pre Panini, Ultimate Collection. And that's something that I think is going to stand the test of time. High end brands from pre Panini that aren't going to come out again. I mean, and you know that better than anybody. You have this Ultimate Collection Wade here, but then of course, I mean, you see the prices on some of these exquisite cards, which is arguably the nicest. I
Yep.
mean, probably inarguably, actually, the nicest brand from pre Panini. And here's this Larry Bird exquisite auto patches.
That's sweet.
Those things are just thanks, bro. Those things are just not going to come out again. So, you know, that's kind of something where you look at like, oh yeah, I mean, the exquisite as far as collectors value, it came and went, and there's only so many of them out, and they're not that's it. That's your supply right there. So
No,
that's
it's a great
something that I would hold on to.
that's a great point, and, like, in this era, what do you consider the high-end RPAs, for example? Flawless,
Yeah.
National Treasures,
Yeah.
and when I
Immaculate.
Immaculate, and when I think back to the mid-2000s, you had Exquisite, you had Ultimate
Yeah.
Collection. I remember there was a product I really liked. I think they made it in basketball too, they did, Upper Deck Premier.
Okay.
So, that's a good point too then. Which will stand the test of time? Maybe the high-end products of certain eras.
Yeah.
Personally, National Treasures doesn't do it for me, especially nowadays. Like, come on, we got high-end RPAs and the patches aren't associated with anything,
Yeah.
but
That's a bummer.
the hobby decided it's a high-end desirable set. Will that last? I don't know, we'll see, and
It's so interesting because in that situation, the brand recognition has actually taken over the quality of the card itself. Like, it's like if you had a Mercedes Benz and then all of a sudden they put the drivetrain and the handling of a Toyota Camry in a Mercedes Benz, but still sold it to you as a Mercedes Benz because that brand is so powerful, you're still buying that Mercedes, you
yeah,
know?
that's fair, and that's why I think that's why gold, I think, really catches, and I'm guilty of this,
Yeah.
whether it's Panini Gold out of 10 or Topps Chrome Gold out of 50, something about the look of gold. You associate gold with, like, cha-ching,
Yeah.
and it looks good, and it's limited, so there exactly, you got it on your chain.
Right.
Um, this was a good conversation because I think we talk about wanting to keep about cards. I think we kinda geeked out a little bit in
Oh,
talking
yeah.
about different sets and parallels and brands and products, so eh, fun, fun conversation.
Yeah, definitely. And you talked about the patches a little bit, Craig. Like, I think, let's go through a couple of my patches. Like, if you look at these Larry Bird Ruby patches,
Cool.
you'll see that they're cool. They're definitely patches. They're part of the lettering. It's flawless, both numbered out of 15, but they're not really awesome patches. Let's be honest. I mean, they're horizontal, one's vertical. It doesn't really give you an indication of where on the jersey it was taken off of. I mean, it was part of the lettering, but you don't know quite where it was. Now let's compare those two, which I think won't stand the test of time as well as if you look at this Anthony Davis patch, where you can clearly see it has multiple. And again, if you're watching on the YouTube, of course you can see it. If you're watching on podcast, I'll give you the audiobook tutorial. But you can see that it's clearly a shape, it's part of the lettering, part of the number. It has three colors compared to the bird that has two, and it's a rookie year. So that's another factor that'll help it stand the test of time. But this one that I brought up in our podcast before, I mean, I think this is the quality of the patch when we're talking about game used is a massive factor, I think, for it standing the test of time because it's just something you won't see. Like you see this magic. Now, I've heard some people comment that it's maybe not the J of Johnson, it could be an S as well on the side, which is a good point. So, we'll have to look into that further.
It's a great
But
great observation, very astute.
yeah, we have some astute listeners, and thanks to anybody again taking the time to tune in. We've gotten so many nice comments; it's unbelievable the connections that we've made through the podcast. But when we really dive deeper, which I know we sometimes like to do on the pod here, when you talk about the game used, you have a bunch of different levels. Which one's going to stand the test of time? The patches that you don't see very often, like the game used jersey with no patch, you know what I mean? But if you get like a DeRozan like this with an R of either DeRozan or Raptors, you're like, it stops you in your tracks if you're walking past the showcase and you're like, oh, I don't see that very often. So just the unique factors and using the game used as an illustration of what I think will definitely stand the test of time in those situations.
Yeah, and I love it. So I like Knicks patches, and I think for me, just as a Knicks fan, the orange and blue,
Oh
it
yeah.
just strikes a chord in my brain. So anytime I can get a chunky Knicks colorful patch, it's like it almost doesn't even matter who the player is. It's like an automatic buy for me if the
Yeah.
price is right.
And sometimes it's interesting too, before we wrap up, the player's career arc a lot of times doesn't match their values. Like, some like you were talking about with the Luca cards, and I know he's kind of dropped off a little bit since Kyrie joined the team, and then they missed the playoffs, and then they got fined for intentionally missing the playoffs. But yeah, that was a crazy situation. But if the card's not great or it's overly produced, even though that player might be playing well, that card might not have the same trajectory if it's overproduced or people decide there's so many of them out there. Why would I invest in this?
Yeah, and that's why a lot of the modern stuff just doesn't do it for me. I see people buying and flipping stuff, and I wish I had more specific examples of sets, but all these basically, how do you differentiate between the various different RPAs of a player you can get nowadays? Like, what makes one set more desire unless we're talking about the high end sets? What makes
Yeah.
one set more desirable than the next, and desirable than the next? And that's why this conversation, okay, really take a step back. Here are all these cards. Okay, which ones are really going to last? Which ones am I going to want in my collection? As we always like to allude to 5, 10 years from now.
I feel like it's hard to invest in cards of guys as far as modern that are not the high end brands. Like if you're investing, which of course, you have to have a good chunk of change to invest in any type of decent player. If it's a flawless, immaculate, or national treasures RPA, you're going to be talking big bucks if it's anybody decent. But those are the ones where you really see, because it's the top echelon, the top 5% of a guy's cards. Okay, these cards are going to really have a rise. Or, like a rated rookie on card auto or a prism auto of a quarterback in the rookie year. But other than that, I don't really see that many investable modern cards. I mean, I could be wrong, but if you're looking at like Panini Playbook, or you're looking at like,
Good example.
yeah, like these middle of the road brands, maybe like Panini One, you really want to invest in maybe if it's really low numbered, but I don't know if I would call those investable products if you're looking at what's going to stand the test of time. Because now, like you said, there's so many options out there. So if it's not the upper echelon, the flawless national treasures, impeccable, or I'm sorry, immaculate, maybe impeccable's a tier below. But if it's not one of those high end brands, to me personally, I know, and we're not making recommendations, but I'm not going to put my money into something that's not that investable. But like the rated rookie is an iconic brand. Prism is an iconic brand. If it's a select rookie, that's an iconic brand, I would say. But those are
Good
the
point.
only ones that I would really consider.
Good point with the rated rookie, right? A very recognizable logo, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This was good. I think a lot of good points here. Hopefully, it has people thinking about what cards they. I mean, it is a matter of opinion,
Right.
but
But it's always good to spark those thoughts
yeah,
among other people. I mean, you suggesting this topic sparked the thought in my head of, oh, yeah, I should probably intentionally think about what cards do I think are going to stand the test of time? What cards do I think are not going to stand the test of time? And what factors about those cards or factors about those players are going to lead me to that? Because, like you said, these are just our opinions. But if somebody's being caused to think about their own collecting in this way, that's mainly what we're looking for. I mean, you're a teacher. You lead kids to think for themselves. You don't tell them what to think. You tell them how to think. I think, at least I think.
well, that was deep. But hey, you know what? Drop in the comments and or send us a DM. What cards or sets or products do you think will stand the test of time?
Yeah.
Would
And
love to
why?
hear that. Love the engagement. So the timing is a little off since we're recording Monday and the Knicks game's played Tuesday, and this episode will drop Wednesday. But give me your Knicks prediction for game 2.
Well, of course, Craig, I got to predict a Knicks win. That would be unbelievable to steal two on the Cavs home court. And I know we have a lot of New York City listeners. So hopefully you guys are also pumped up. And hopefully by the time this drops, we're talking 2-0 Knicks. But even if we lose and it comes 1-1 headed back to the Garden, I think that's still a success. Got to keep the ball in Jalen Brunson's hands. Expert decision maker, clutch factor, heart. He's always under control, even keeled. Dad, Rick Brunson, former NBA player, always encouraging as the Knicks assistant coach on the sideline. Don't let Julius Randle do too much isolation. Good at times, not as the main offense. I hope RJ Barrett can turn it around. He's been in a slump, as all Knicks fans know. And my boy Obi Toppin, who also went to Ossining High School, same as me, a few years later, which was interesting because my middle school coach, by the time I was out of high school and Obi was playing high school at Ossining, was Obi's varsity coach. So I came back and I was guarding Obi in high school back when he was like 6'4", and I was helping out with my middle school coach, who then became the high school coach. So, Obi then, of course, blossomed after that. But cool to see him contributing. I hope he has a big game. And I hope, of course, the Knicks win. So, Craig, you might like this quick story. I listed that RJ Barrett RPA, the silhouettes that I showed recently, that you denied me on the trade, which I totally understand for the Allen Iverson sneaker spotlight auto. But I listed this one on eBay, trying to follow the same trajectory that we did with my Dak Prescott and with your Mbappe that you smartly listed to end right after the World Cup final. And I listed this to end right after game 4 on eBay, the game that you're going to in person. So hopefully I'm into it for 275. Hopefully it brings a little bit more than that to break even. This is on-card rookie auto. It's a player-worn patch, but 3 colors, numbered out of 25. So what do you think about that move real quick before we finish here and our Knicks chances in the series going forward?
I love this Knicks team because of the depth. So I feel like even though we did win game 1, Quickly didn't play well. Quickly owes us a game. RJ Barrett could have his game. And look, if there's a game that he's going to step up and do his thing, why not in a matinee game at Madison Square Garden? So let's be honest. RJ did not play well in game 1, but
No.
he owes us a game. And for your sake, for our sake, for everyone's sake, I hope that comes in game 4. And hey, maybe it'll be a sweep.
Wow.
Crazier things have happened. That's it. Episode 28 in the books. Cards are fun.
That'll be the title of a future episode for us.
All right. Be well. Peace.